So whenever you have a book that's coming out, like, do you try to link the colors with whatever style the mood is, or how do you kind of pick the colors as far as like, are you kind of like, is there usually like a pre-existing template, or you have something in mind from the get-go, or what? Is it go based on story, or is it kind of more like this is the color of the character, so I'm going to kind of stick to this way of it?
All and in between. It varies from project to project, and no two projects I've ever done have been the same as far as the amount of notes and the types of notes that I get. Some artists that I've worked with are extremely critical and will, give me tons of notes back. Those artists I actually don't really like to work with and have kind of weeded them out of my circle of artists that I work for because I can't really afford the time to redo stuff. I just need to plow through.
Yeah.
So it helps a lot to get early color notes. On Mage, I get very, very few color notes. When I started this book with my dad, he, of course, had certain expectations. This is one of his childs right here. This is his baby, Mage and Grendel.
It's your brother then.
Yes, yes, I've known Mage since I was very little.
I love it. And how did you come to start like working on Mage? Like, what was the process?
So with Mage, it was at first it was a tryout page, and I nailed it. My dad thought it looked really great. Growing up in his studio and with his art, I not only know his sensibilities, but I share them. We think the same as far as storytelling goes. I approach color very much from a storytelling standpoint. I'm not trying to paint a beautiful picture every time. I'm not trying to hang this work necessarily. Sometimes I am. Sometimes I'm trying to make a nice cover or print, something that's frameable, hangable. But for the most part, the flow of the story and the ability to draw the eye to certain narrative moments that are impactful and important, that's really what matters in the world of coloring for comic books.
Absolutely, and I think that's really important because you have the ability to draw people's eye to where you want to take it.
Right.
And so that's really cool. So break down, for people who don't know what coloring is or how to do it, break down a little bit about coloring.
So coloring for everyone is probably a little bit different, from person to person. Some people do it traditionally. Guys like Matt Hollingsworth, who is a staple in our industry for color, he's been doing it for many, many years. He's won many awards for it. He is awesome, and he used to do this stuff traditionally, painting. Nowadays he does it digital, but I follow him, and he's doing a lot of painting on traditional paper and then scanning it to get textures. And then he's incorporating the two. Now, I don't do that. I do all of my stuff digitally. I use a handful of brushes that I got from, I'll name drop again, the man Dave Stewart. He's amazing. He taught me a few tricks, and he gave me a few brushes, I want to say 7 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And ever since then, I have just been flying with that bag of tricks and those few brushes. It's made it really easy for me. And I think it's key to limit your brushes too. I really, on Mage, I'm using, I think, just 2 digital brushes. I know that some people use a lot of digital brushes and they use a lot of layers. I find that the more I get bogged down by the layers and the brushes and the technical choices, I lose sense of the flow of paint, and really in that classic sense of just painting, just applying marks to a page, because the more marks you make, the likely it's going to look less digital. If the first time you make a digital mark with a digital brush, it does read very digital, until you muck it up with a few more marks. Then it starts to look organic. It starts to look real, and that's kind of the look that I'm always going for with color. Is sort of like a painterly look. I'm inspired a lot by the Impressionist painters, and the way that they represent reality through brushstrokes, suggestive brushstrokes. So that's what I'm trying to achieve.
That's cool. I mean, the detail that you go into to make sure that it looks organic is really impressive. Whenever you're going and you're looking at like these these different colors, what's the process like to getting the colors on the page?
So okay, so you asked, is there notes? Do I get a palette ahead of time? I do not usually get a palette per se. I don't get this scene has a purple sky. I don't get notes like that. The notes that I get are more continuity things. This character has a red cape. That character is African American. You know, these kind of things are important because going back and redoing that stuff is a pain in the ass. For the most part, I'm hired by artists because they trust me. They trust that what I'm going to do is going to be right the first time around, not the second, third, fourth, fifth. So for the most part, I just kind of dive in and do what I think is appropriate. Again, it's all storytelling. So I read the script, I look at the art, and I decide based on the line art and the shading what the lighting would be and what appropriate time of day it should be, what the mood should be.